Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. You've finished your chores, you've eaten all your veggies, folded your clothes, and put your kiddos to bed, and now you get a little you time. Welcome to your Zen, and come on into the garage. I'm your host, Dan Massimino. Think of me as the maestro of this fun little concert. Just want to take a quick minute to thank our many listeners out there in the podcast verse. You guys are awesome. We can't get enough of you and all the messages that you send. Keep them coming. We love it. It keeps us going. We're just trying to make this place a little better for all of us, so thank you for participating in that. If you do happen to be joining us for the first time, welcome in. Grab your tool belt and slide up to the workbench with us. Let me fill you in on what it is we say we do here. The Garage is a place where we get together and talk about many things, but where we really hit the sweet spot is when we get some friends and dive into the why, the how, and the who cares in retail media innovation. Today's Garage session is a bit different. We're coming to you from outside our virtual studio. You can probably hear it in the background. We hit the road, and the Garage is at Possible, hosted at the amazing Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach. For those who don't know, Possible is an outstanding industry event brimming with content dedicated to future-thinking marketers combined with innovation and emerging technologies. Possible is an event the entire marketing and media community to come together and network with industry peers, share ideas, present visions, and discuss mutual challenges. And speaking of Zen, from my other point, I shall now introduce you to a man whose calming and soothing nature rivals that of any sand garden, any meditation session, any baby goat yoga session you can think of. The VP of Product Innovation at Albertsons Media Collective, Evan Hovorka. Namaste, Evan. Have you ever done goat yoga?
Oh, you're putting me to sleep with these dulcet tones, Dan. I love it. Thank you. Just don't put the audience to sleep. I've not done goat yoga, but I did do yoga with flamingos. I have the photos. I have the receipts to prove it. It was at an event that Attain hosted, and the flamingos were from a rescue, and they were calm, and they would just kind of do their flamingo thing in between all the yoga participants. I sat at the back of the class, being by far the worst participant of all. I just didn't want to miss an opportunity to see these birds. Like, they were literally nibbling on my fingers as I pretended to do yoga.
Okay. Here I write these intros, hoping not to just catch you off guard. And you one-up me, which is next level. Speaking of next level, we're joined today by a great guest. We've got a real treat here. We're going to try to make the complicated simple from Brian here. So I know our listeners like the sound of that. We're joined by the AppsFlyer president and general manager for North America, Brian Quinn. Brian runs AppsFlyer's go-to-market strategy and operations for North America and brings over 15 years of experience in sales leadership and business development, scaling revenue, building high-performing growth teams, all while executing go-to-market strategies in a variety of internet software businesses across the mobile, marketing, and data analytics industries. Brian is a recognized leader in mobile marketing with an executive background at AT&T, Kenshu, and Experian, offering deep insights into app-based economies. Brian sits on the board of the MMA and is Forbes Technology Council member as well. A proud Fighting Illini. Please welcome Brian Quinn. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I am great. And I'm thinking about flamingos and yoga.
I don't get it.
Sit here.
Perfect.
But I'm great. I'm really happy to be here. It's great to be in Miami at Possible with you guys. So thanks for having me on.
We're super thrilled to have you here. If you would, tell us a little bit about AppsFlyer, your journey to get there, and enlighten our listeners on AppsFlyer and what it does.
AppsFlyer is a technology company born in the apps space. When apps really started and the app stores started, there was a real big challenge in that pixels didn't work in the app stores. So the way that web marketers knew how to measure the effectiveness of marketing in their campaigns was broken. It wouldn't work in the app marketplace. And so AppsFlyer and a number of other companies joined in to solve that problem, working primarily with the walled gardens, Meta and Google and others, inside their measurement programs to be able to effectively attribute app downloads and app engagements from media. It's grown quite a bit since then. We have a variety of tools in the measurement and engagement space. We have customers all across the world that range from app folk businesses like games and app e-commerce businesses, ride sharing, but all the way to large household names that are building apps for their loyalty and rewards programs. So this is AppsFlyer. We'll get into it, but we're now also in the commerce media, retail media space. We're very excited about that. I've been at the company for just over 6 years. It's been a phenomenal ride. Before that, I was at App Annie, often confuse very different businesses. That's kind of dealing with the third-party data sets for the mobile app ecosystem. And prior to that, I was with Experian and Kensho.
So you've seen quite the transformation in this space over the past 6 years there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like the space is growing, but 4 years ago, Apple made a pretty drastic move with restricting the identifier on iOS. And that really changed the entire mobile industry. And it got very confusing and it created a lot of complexity for marketers. And that's really where the growth of AppsFlyer kind of took a turn.
And you now have 20 worldwide offices, I see?
I think so. Yeah, over 20 offices all around the world. And it's a very global company.
Very cool. I know that Miami's pretty hot, but if you had to pick one of those places to visit where your offices are located, could you pick one?
I'm in San Francisco.
You don't get to pick your home base.
Okay. So when I leave San Francisco,
there you go.
We're all over in major cities in Asia, which is really fun. We have a major office in Tel Aviv, which is where the headquarters are. New York City is buzzing at the moment, and I'm there a lot for work.
I'll tell you what, that's a bucket list, right, Evan?
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. We've expanded our network here in the US, and a lot of retail media companies are US centric, but we have aspirations to expand overseas. At least Dan and I do. We'd love to host a podcast.
Let's do an office tour. We'll do an office tour together.
I like it. That's on the record.
Perfect.
We have to go. So it's no secret that we're living in this mobile age. As you said, it's grown over the past 6 years with that fundamental change that the App Store did. So apps and digital loyalty are more important and more powerful than ever. How does AppsFlyer support brands and organizations with growing that loyalty base?
So apps are not new. We've all been using them for over a decade, but there is a growing trend of retailers to use the app as the main vehicle for their rewards programs, for their loyalty business. These brands have recognized that the first-party data they can generate through the app is of the highest quality. It's really rich. It's very recent. And it's hard to get otherwise. You think about your behavior on a mobile device, it's very intimate, and you're typically providing accurate information to benefit from the rewards program. So it's a very valuable data set. And a lot of these brands, the way that we help them is they're trying to grow their rewards program. They're trying to market their rewards apps. And whether they're doing that through owned media or paid media, we help connect the actions that the users take in the app towards the media touch point. And this attribution is really important. It allows the brands to understand what's working in their marketing campaigns, what's not. We help them also on the analytics side. So develop models around lifetime value and return on ad spend and connecting in-store transactions and other conversion data into this equation. So we're really sort of the engine that helps drive their acquisition and re-engagement, and then all the analytics that sit around that operation.
And just to be clear, you're speaking about two things. All of what you just said internally, I think that's easy to understand. You become a trusted analytic and process partner for the app owner, but you got your start and still do a tremendous amount of external. So traffic driving to that app, being able to help them navigate that very chaotic and expensive external marketing world before they even get to the app. There's a tremendous amount of data connection. Being able to do that on a single platform must feel pretty rewarding to the clients that use you for both.
Yeah, I think the app marketplace is very complex. It's quite siloed from sort of the web first world of ad tech. That's a lot here at Possible. Things are blending, things are merging. We see a lot more omni-platform, omni-channel strategies, but the way the industry's sort of developed, the way the technology's developed, it's pretty siloed. And it's very complex for a brand in the mobile space to go out and acquire new customers. It's expensive. And what the brands value in a service like AppsFlyer is we have a single SDK. You put that SDK in your app and it connects you to every media source that you're looking to buy from. And we measure in a very consistent and uniform way. So regardless of how the individual media source might measure, we have a way of doing attribution that the customers really buy into. So they look at us on the side of the advertiser, not too close to any one media source, and acting as a referee and an independent source of truth in terms of how they're acquiring and re-engaging with customers.
Perfect. And I'll give you a little backstory, listeners, on why AppsFlyer is on our Rolodex today. This podcast is all about education, and that goes both directions. And so as you've been listening to Dan and I talk through a host of partners where Media Collective is deeply integrated, we also need to learn from folks where we aren't yet deeply integrated and ask ourselves why. And where I see data flow, you see the future of data sharing, privacy that's getting more restrictive as it should. We need to protect the customer in any way possible. The app is a really well-trusted, well-adopted, highly consented environment. And as a company, we use our loyalty app for a tremendous amount of value back to the customer. I mean, the reason it exists is to provide our shoppers an enhanced experience of all the services we provide. You can imagine personalization. If you've got our Fresh Pass delivery option, you integrate that. It's all saved, recorded, ready to go. Makes shopping Albertsons stores very easy for our shopper. Introduce the retail media network. Now what direction do we go? To your point, the open web has been a quicker adopted environment for retail media, but it needs to grow. Walled gardens have a tremendous foothold in retail media, and a tremendous amount of the traffic is on apps. And so there's a missed opportunity to go from app to Albertsons or app to retail media because of missing pipelines. So we are as excited as anybody to learn today from Brian and see where retail media can go and grow with a technology like this.
It's fantastic. I mean, I think we were just talking about it. When you take a step back, it's really hard to have expertise in all aspects of this operation. And I think it's really critical that businesses like ours that have this opportunity to come together and sort of anticipate where the puck is going. Retail media, depending on what evolution or incarnation that it's in, I believe it's going to shift more towards mobile and apps just because that's where the consumers are. That's where the data is for brands. I think it's largely been focused on web so far, but I think this is really great opportunity. So when you think about retail and commerce media businesses, and then you think about the customers are in the apps, and you think about the closed loop measurement that we have been working in for over a decade in a very privacy safe way, I think this is a really cool intersection point.
Yeah. I would just challenge you on one point. You mentioned RMN has primarily focused on open web. I would say it's been more focused on open web mentality. So our app traffic, I'll speak for retailers in general, but Albertsons has publicly posted numbers. It's our fastest growing digital channel. It's our most adopted digital channel. Big surprise that you would see that at most retailers. And in there, you can find our well-curated and personalized ads on behalf of the CPGs that invest with our media collective, served to the right people. But it's done in a way that also replicates the open web, meaning we have one solution, one technology that really serves both purposes. It doesn't honor the deeper connection, the more rich environment that the app unlocks because it's more work. And we need maybe technology partners to help. We need something separate and something custom in a way that doesn't add cost or frustration or slowness to the customer or to the CPG investor. That's an area RMNs have not touched on.
Interesting.
So actually, let's go there then. So once the retailer app is downloaded and our customers shop using that app, how can marketers influence purchase decisions, driving trial or general brand awareness? What can we do? Instruct us a little bit here.
Once the retailer's reward app is downloaded, typically what they'll want to do is code in-app events that correlate towards business KPIs, adding to cart, purchases, and then making sure that they understand how to connect those events towards marketing campaigns and media touchpoints. This is sort of step one in connecting the dots. So we understand of our high value customers, where'd they come from? How can we re-engage with them? What is that mechanism? Is it email? Is it push notification? Are they responding to paid media ads on Meta? Are they coming from CTV campaigns? That's all very, very critical. Once I understand where these customers are coming from and how we're re-engaging with them, now I understand how to treat them, whether they're personalized offers or, different ways of treating those customers. I think these are some of the key steps that we see retailers take when they're trying to build these reward programs.
To me, that reads like more appropriate ad load, if not less ad load, more customized, more personalized, more of an appropriate conversation with our shoppers in a way where they feel like it's in service of the goals that they're trying to achieve within the app. Be that an inspirational recipe with the gluten-free products that they already know and love versus, spray and pray is a little aggressive, but that would be the opposite end of that spectrum. But in service of, and I think you're hitting that, fortunately for us, what's good for the customer is often good for the media investor because they don't want to waste money. We don't want to waste ads or time of our shopper. And if we can remove any of that waste in the middle by being smarter with our data and services, that's generally what happens. Both sides win, which makes us very happy as well.
Absolutely.
So when you talked earlier about measurement, attribution, closed loop measurement, obviously from a retail media side, that gets us excited. That traditionally full omni-channel closed attribution has been a challenge for retail media networks, and identity is getting harder and harder to map out. Is AppsFlyer currently working with RMNs directly? And if so, could you tell us a little bit how that works, how the integration works, and put us on that path?
Absolutely. So we are working with retail media networks, commerce media networks directly. The genesis is, like I said, so we've been in this app business. About 4 years ago, Apple introduced something called App Tracking Transparency, ATT. And if you're on iOS, you're very familiar. You're basically consenting with every app download, which was a major shift in the industry. And that took a lot of signal out of the ecosystem because it defaulted to users not sharing their device ID, specifically the IDFA. You went from about 90% IDFAs out in the marketplace to about 20% in a matter of a couple of quarters. We then developed a clean room technology because our advertisers needed to understand, they needed better signal. And we started to operate in a world of aggregation and probabilistic measurement where our clean room could allow a brand and an advertiser with the media partner to exchange signal. And we saw a pickup and adoption of this. We then saw a number of our advertisers build ad businesses, commerce media businesses, retail media businesses, and many of them were looking for a privacy-safe solution to exchange insights with their advertising partners. And so we repurposed a clean room at the time, and we built it into what we call a data collaboration platform. And this is what retail media businesses license from AppsFlyer. So they put first-party data in our collaboration platform, and we have a substantial number of mobile app advertisers as our customers. So when there's overlap in those data sets, we can do very privacy-safe audience creation and enhancement. So if you're a retail media business and you're looking to attract mobile users, we have a pretty interesting value proposition.
It's kind of a big part of our future.
For sure.
You hit on two things that I wanted to reinforce. One is a story I often tell investors and potential clients and current clients. It doesn't mean that a retailer is going to always have the best methodology, the absolute best sales pitch, but every hop that somebody takes away from the point of sale, the point where Dan checks out, swipes his loyalty program card, and we know now that he bought that SKU. There's no truthier truth set than that. Like that is just cold, hard facts. There's no probability, there's no scaling, there's no manipulation of data. But we can't let an outsider see into our point of sale system. So then what? We create a retail media network on top of it. We build a very defensible methodology. We open up the code. We can prove to a discerning CPG that this, in fact, is scientifically defensible. Outside of that, you have lots of measurement solutions that go all the way down to surveys and pixels and panels, and you're taking 3, 4, 5, 6 hops away from the truth. And to a degree, they have value, maybe around awareness or brand building. There may be value in doing so. But you're diluting the defensible truth of Dan bought the SKU on the 13th. He saw the ad on the 12th. You're explaining a very similar environment. We can do what you're describing today with other clean rooms. You can pull ad logs. You can transfer transaction logs from multiple platforms, web, app, or otherwise, into a common clean room. You're just adding a few more hops in the middle to get there. And that is valuable for some use cases. Maybe you're doing MMM, MTA. I don't know if you offer those services, but in those applications, the extra hops are worth it. But they take time, they dilute the story, or at least they add grayness to the story. If you're looking for hyper-focused, as fast as possible integration between an action and a media plan, that feels like do it in the app, stay in the app, and you couldn't do it any better than that.
Yeah, I think you're touching on a really important point where there's not a lot of middlemen in this equation. So our attribution customers, either they implement our SDK or they have a server-to-server backend connection, but they're giving us their sort of first-party data so we can help them do the measurement and analytics. When we work with a retail media business who's attracting those advertisers that are already AppsFlyer clients, all the data is already within AppsFlyer. And so from an InfoSec, from a security standpoint, these advertisers already feel comfortable with that, and it reduces the number of sort of hops and middlemen in the equation.
Right, because you're integrated into the code. You're just like any app that's out there has multiple tech partners serving it. So call it Retailer X app. There's 3 or 4 very popular names out there that would be behind it, be it cloud technology, be it a domain management software. You're just one of those technology providers that is integrated deeply into the code base and therefore have all the defensible, like you mentioned, privacy safe components.
Something about the way that the mobile app environment works is you can't do attribution without a attribution platform like AppsFlyer. You can't do it on your own. You wouldn't get the data from Meta. They wouldn't provide the granularity of data to the advertisers directly. They do so with us because we're part of their measurement program. So we're a mission critical layer that companies can't build on their own. And we're a very core sort of level of infrastructure in the app. And in fact, The AppsFlyer SDK is the third most deployed SDK in the world behind Meta and Google. So we have massive adoption, and we're integrated in about 90,000 apps around the world. So we bring a lot of demand from advertisers into the equation of retail media businesses looking to attract people on mobile.
Yeah, that's the other angle. The second part of my example would be siloed solutions or single track solutions have value when they scale in other ways. So in this scenario, you've got international scale, you've got massive cross app scale, which is becoming the primary digital experience for most people online. Even on walled garden platforms, it's primarily app use. So it's interesting to think of, you always want to start with one node in a solution path in a technology stack and see how many hops you have to go. When you look at it from that perspective, that is the fewest hops. So that's an interesting, and fortunately for you, that's where the user behavior is going, is app-based versus open web.
Right. I do want to touch on, you brought up the word attribution and digital attribution, and it's great, but connecting to offline sales is even better. How do you think about closing the offline loop for advertisers?
It's a super important challenge I think a lot of advertisers have. It's one thing to measure in-app activity or any digital activity. It's another thing to kind of pipe in offline POS data, sales data, and that's what they're looking for.
Our primary business is offline sales.
Like, media efficiency is great, but people have to buy stuff.
It's got to go beep.
Exactly. And so we have advertisers who connect sort of offline, not in a real-time attribution flow, sales data, and link it to sort of conversion events. So I think there's a lot of solution in that arena that has yet to be really built at scale for the advertisers. I know there's a lot of like businesses trying to go solve that. I think one of the core challenges that we face is in the mobile app environment, things happen in real time. The way that attribution engine was developed is I'm on my device, I see an ad, I click that ad, I download a game, I download an app. It all happens within a matter of seconds. And the real-time nature of that is actually critically important for brands to be able to optimize. When we start to look at offline sales, it's not in this real-time flow. It's coming in at a different, the timing of it is different. So not only do you have an integration challenge of how do I get that data mapped into a measurement view, and as we've been building measurement capabilities on CTV, on game platforms, PCs and consoles, and then for the web. And what we see is these advertisers on these different platforms have different requirements and a different view of things like timing for attribution. And so I think what we need to figure out as an industry is how can we provide a uniform way to look at measurement on these different channels that have very, very sort of different time horizons when it comes to media exposure and then conversion or a purchase.
Oh, that's fascinating. You probably know we are big fans of standardization within retail media.
Yeah.
We proposed the framework for the IAB measurement standards. And there's a selfish component to it as well. I've worked at a couple retail media networks. We're all out there building a unicorn for measurement. And this is true for a lot of different solutions. So we're all expending extra engineers, spending extra time to make retailer XYZ's measurement the best. And to a degree that worked in the beginning, but now we're hearing direct VOC, voice of our customer, you guys need to make it easier. We've got too many different ways to solve the same problem. Maybe retailer XYZ's is the best, but maybe it's slow or the most expensive. They're not necessarily caring about which one to pick, but they're trying to make it easy so they can invest in all the retail media networks with one common technology. The challenge in doing most of what you're saying, though, let's say standardization expanded away from measurement to all retail media applications, there's not a lot of common companies that thread their way through. You might have a common analytics company, Google Analytics might be on the backbone of everybody, but those databases don't connect, right? Or you may use a common point of sale technology for the front of store, but those data sets certainly don't connect. You've created an environment where you've got a common thread woven through what sounds like the majority of retailers' websites and the media activation partners that they would market on, games, social, but you're an independent of the publisher position and you're independent of the retailer's position, which I'm just coming to this realization now that there really isn't another company like that has a fully integrated solution with most, if not all, major US retail media networks, and yet doesn't take a position on inventory or really any of the preceding technologies that fuel marketing, audiences, measurement, all the things we go sell. That's pretty wild.
I mean, independence and unbiasedness are core principles of our business. We partner with many businesses, advertisers, publishers, walled garden, across CTV, retail media, gaming platforms. We try to earn trust that we have accurate and robust measurement and that we protect our advertisers from purchasing fraudulent traffic and whatnot. But we aren't connected to any one media platform. We don't take investment from anyone in the media business.
There's no DSP or SSP.
There's no DSP or SSP. It's our founder and CEO, Oren Kaniel, will be very clear to say we're not going to build an ads business. We're not brokering data. There's a lot of things that naturally you would imagine we could do, but we believe that the world doesn't have an independent digital measurement platform that works across all these different platforms. It doesn't exist. I think we're in an interesting position because we've largely figured out mobile, and mobile's pretty complicated. And we look at it as a moat for our business. And with the deprecation of cookies, with measurement coming into CTV as an independent play, with retail media evolving past kind of the early years where companies are going to be looking for more advanced measurement, incrementality to understand it's not just last click for retail media. Businesses are going to demand more robust layers of measurement. I think this is a very interesting sort of opportunity that we see, and this is why we're investing in this space.
Fascinating.
So what do you want us to do? Like put on your forecaster's hat, right? You've seen the industry evolve over more than 6 years, but the 6 years that we talked with AppsFlyer, and you work with so many retailers and advertisers out there. Where are you seeing the momentum shift now, and where should advertisers lean in?
So I look at retail media, CTV, and mobile as very healthy, growing platforms, if you will, for advertisers. So advertisers should be considering all three of these and then sort of the intersection of what makes sense for their business. This is sort of one. So it's more of a cross kind of platform, if you will, cross device way to look at things. I think this is one trend. As we mentioned, we started in the attribution business, but that's evolving. Measurement's evolving. A lot of businesses are building testing platforms, incrementality testing platforms. Media mix modeling has re-entered the conversation because now it can be more frequent. The cadence of it could be more frequently determined, and then you'll be able to use that for optimization. So I think it gives it a very practical way of looking at measurement. So if you think about the trends of cross-platform and you think about the different layers of measurement, I think there's going to be a lot of innovation here and a lot of advertisers realizing that while there's complexity in the models and in the underlying technology, it's getting easier to use. And it's becoming, there's more knowledge out there, more and more conversations. People are comfortable with these things. They're not just fringe experience anymore. They're getting more operationalized. So I look at these trends as a bit of where we're headed.
I really appreciate that. And full transparency, Albertsons as a company uses AppsFlyer for kind of your first wave of business, which is, can our enterprise team drive someone to download the app, our loyalty app for your appropriate banner, be it Safeway or Jewel-Osco or Albertsons or one of the many banners we support? Did we invest in a media program that drove an adoption of that app? And you help them answer that question. Fantastic. That's the extent of what we do today. The Media Collective is looking to grow in new ways that are modern, standardizing, at least capable of standardizing, and make our lives simpler, which means making the lives of our CPGs simpler. What you described is a nice chapter of that next RMN evolution that's required. And I just want to hit on one example, but MTA, it's coming back into focus because the data is now more available for faster attribution. In-campaign optimization within an MMM model was unheard of 5 years ago, but we need to get the message out there. If you're an RMN and you're building an in-house MMM, an in-house MTA, you're wasting your time. It's foolish, it's unnecessary, it lacks scope, and CPGs are never going to buy it unless you represent 80% of their sales, in which case you've got a client base of one or two. Fantastic for you. But if you represent the major international CPGs, like most retailers, they can do this on their own. They can do it far better than any retail media network can because they market in 13 different places. Plus they have their agency of record. They've got their own ID investments. They've got their own MMM investments. With a partnership like this, we could power common MMM sharing, MTA sharing in a way that takes that work off our plate and honors the true national data integration required to run MMM. So it's not quite where you were going with that statement, but it is a step in the right direction of our whole industry, which is do the job that you're best at doing and then partner with others who can do a better job of it and just figure out the right commercialization.
I would agree with that. I mean, focus is the name of the game here. And so we focus on measurement and it's a 24-hour-a-day job and it's constantly changing. Trying to figure all that stuff out in-house amongst building an ad business and all the other aspects of the operation, it doesn't need to be a focus. And I would also argue, and I say this from a biased perspective, but what I think advertisers really value in a third-party measurement is really the trust. And they know that we're calling the shots as we see them. We're the referee of an industry. We're not betting on any one particular force. And I think that's a really strong value proposition for an advertiser.
The unbiased, which you can't say about any other. And if you hold position in the media, which every RMN does, then your ability to do an unbiased MMM for a CPG is impossible. You could build it for your CMO. You could make him happy or her happy with one client in enough iterations. You could make that person very happy. But imagine doing it for 37 CMOs who don't trust you from the beginning in terms of unbiased on the publisher inventory. It's impossible.
Speaking of trust, Brian trusted me to get him out of here on time. So I want to make sure that we honor that and be good stewards of his time here.
I got a little too excited.
No,
apologies.
We're all excited about the retail media space and where this could go. But Brian, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your insights, partnering with us in a space that we frankly don't know a lot about. And it's exciting to get that education, not only to us, but to the industry as well. So thank you so much for joining us in the garage today.
Oh, I had a blast. It's really good to be here with you guys in that possible. And I really appreciate the time on your podcast.
Well, now we'll get out to the sand and have a nice Bahama Mama or Miami Vice or whatever we want to have.
Or a game of dodgeball.
We'll talk about that on another podcast. But Brian Quinn, President and General Manager North America for AppsFlyer, thank you so much for being here. If you liked what you heard, and I know that you did, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe. We'll be back with more episodes of The Garage here from Possible. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an episode of The Garage.